Hello everybody and welcome back to the Animorphs YouTube channel. I'm here today to tell you the 10 things I would like to see in the movie and potential follow-up media that wasn't found in one of the books. If you want to join in, feel free to put your suggestions in the comments below. But these are my 10 things, my opinions. Right, let's go. Number 1. Don't do what I've written down as the linear narration switches. In the books, we always got books 1 to 6 were narrated by Jake, 2 and 7 by Rachel, 3 by Tobias/Axe, and so on. Now, it works in the books, but that sort of thing I don't think would work in media. It would seem forced, and in fact it probably will force storylines into place. What we don't want is storylines to be forced, or natural flow of plot to be forced. It needs to be natural. Therefore, I think we need to do away with the whole "my name is insert name here," and then in the next act, "my name is blank," and so on and so forth. We love it. We love the whole "my name is blank" bit, but that needs to be ditched as we go ahead with this media, I believe. Number 2, unnecessary storylines and plots. Right, let me get an example up here. For example, do we need a version of this on the screen? Now, of course, the first movie will not include any of this. I can guarantee. In fact, it's probably the most certain I've ever been of anything in my life. But as we move forward with Animorphs, because we all hope that we'll get more than just the one movie, we need to ignore some of this. We do. As much as we may love these, and there may be people who say, "Oh, I really like that book," and someone else will say, "Actually, no, I don't." A lot of it is filler. Most of the stuff that was ghostwritten, because they had to put out a book each month and they couldn't put essential storyline in each book. We don't need to do that here. We don't need filler. And even though it may be in the main book series, we do not need number 44, The Unexpected, in another media format. We need to concentrate on more important stuff, which brings me on to point 3. More space politics. Now, before you kick off at me and say, "Adam, you said no politics in the Animorphs movie," I'm not talking about our politics. I've written it down as a la Game of Thrones. And I've also put after that, potentially with extra characters from other races forming subplots. So obviously we've got the Animorphs lot, the Animorphs plot line as basically the main series in the books. They'll be doing their thing, but I think it would be good to have various subplots focusing on characters from different races. So maybe there is a Skritnar character somewhere who at first isn't related to the plot, but later on becomes important in some scene somewhere, a la Game of Thrones. So when I say space politics, I loved Game of Thrones. Series 1 to 4, potentially 5 and 6. And I would love that sort of thing to be going on, where we've got, obviously the main focus is going to be on the Animorphs 80 to 90% of the time, but for the other percent of the time, it would be nice to have these extra little subplots exploring these other alien races and probably some more specific characters. I'd like that. And let's have some really intense space politics thrown in there. I like it, so long as it's not relevant to modern day politics, please. Number 4, more focus on the free hork-bajir colony. They became quite important towards the later books in the main series, but they were still quite a minor part. I think they were more important than they were perhaps made out to be, and I'd love that to be reflected in the media that's coming up with Animorphs. I've also put on here to give Toby Hammy the morphing power towards the end, perhaps as a 7th Animorphs, because I honestly think, Michael and Catherine, that you missed something golden there, having the 7th Animorph, or 6th if you don't count Axe, which tends to happen in the books for whatever reason, to have hork-bajir character as a 7th Animorphs come the end of the series. I think that would have been pretty amazing, and we'd have had some nice book covers with a hork-bajir morphing, I don't know, a skunk. I think that was something that was missed there, that we could take advantage of as we move forward with Animorphs. Regarding the free hork-bajir colony, they became a major piece on the Animorphs chessboard. And I think that needs to be reflected more. They were very important, and I love the hork-bajir. I think they were a great alien race, and I think they could have been seen more. I think one of the things, though, this is sort of an addendum to that point, when Michael and Catherine were writing this, I think they deliberately almost pushed the hork-bajir down. I think, I mean, I could be just getting my conspiratorial head on, but almost trying to make it seem as if everyone around the hork-bajir just ignored them and didn't really pay much attention to them, almost to make a point that these oppressed aliens were just, nobody really cared about them that much, and when it came to them giving the morphing power out, they just completely shrugged them off. Shrugging off Toby Hammy as well, which was a silly mistake. But anyway, that's a whole different video, so we'll come back to that later on. 5. Less Visser 3. And more sub-Vissers. Right. Number 10, The Android. It's somewhere in here. This book was one of my favourites, The Android. The reason being that it did not have our resident supervillain, Visser 3. Up until that point, Visser 3 had been in every single book, and by the time book 3 or 4 came around, the intimidation factor had gone, and he became more of a joke. Book 9 comes along, and he gets covered in grape juice. No, skunk smell, and he cures it with grape juice, and from that point on, he becomes a running gag. We want this series, or at least I want this series, not sure about the rest of you, I want it to be an intimidating thing. I want people to be fearful of this Visser 3 character. To make him fearful, he needs to be more mysterious, more unknown. We need to see less Visser 3. And that is a good place to almost bring back point number 3 that I made, where we concentrate on subplots with other alien characters. And I think having a couple of sub-Vissers in there, instead of Visser 3 for large portions of these this media, would be really beneficial, not only to allow Visser 3 the breathing space to be more intimidating, but also to give us an insight into the politics of Yeerk military, of the Yeerk military. And I don't know, maybe 2 sub-Vissers fighting for promotion or something over the course of however long this goes on, and it forces them into more and more unreasonable acts to dethrone each other. I don't know, something like that. But it will add a whole lot more, so less Visser 3, please. I think it's going to benefit you in all sorts of different ways. Number 6. Less episodic, more serialised. Now, I don't mean Kellogg's Cornflakes serialised. I mean, as opposed to the books, where every book is a separate storyline, usually, we need to have a more smooth flow throughout the course of the media. In the books, it was usually a case of every book has a problem, middle, solution. Next book, problem, middle, solution. In the style of, say, The Walking Dead, Game of Thrones, Dexter, name show, insert show name here, it needs to, I believe, it needs to be more serialised so that you can get more engaged in these larger plots, rather than making everything so episodic and rigid in that sort of formula. I think it will allow more breathing space, it will allow for more drama and more tension, and it will make it feel less. I mean, take for instance the show Supernatural. I used to watch it, but I got bored after like series 4 because it was, every episode was basically start, middle, end. Next episode, start, middle, end. And every episode just started to feel the same, which is why I prefer the serialised format. So again, that comes away from the style of the books, but I think it would be a good benefit in terms of media. It was fine for the book series. I don't think it's going to be fine for the screen. 7. How have I written this, interestingly? More aliens trying to fit into human world stuff. Now, you'd understand what I mean by the way I wrote it down, but obviously I can't visualise that here, unless I went into editing, but I'm lazy. It is remember the times when Axe was basically being shown the human world and interacting with it, getting obsessed with cinnamon buns, eating cigarette butts, yada yada yada. In the downtime from the major goings on in the series, I'd love more of this, and not just of Axe, but for instance the hork-bajir, maybe like Toby Hammy. I remember there was a fan fiction by Annie Jen, The Earth Diary of Toby Hammy, where at the start of it we got to see Tobias bringing her books and newspapers, and she would spend time reading it and learning all about human culture. And that stuff's very interesting, to allow these characters from a different world to interact with the human world and just react to it. I mean, in the modern times, everyone loves reaction videos and stuff like that. And that's basically what's happening here. We're seeing Axe, for example, react to human food or movie theatres or computers. And it was always entertaining. And I think it will also be entertaining on the screen. So Axe, possibly the free hork-bajir as well, maybe the Animorphs can constantly be trying to introduce them to human things and just seeing how they react to it. It's always very entertaining. That would be fun to include. And I know that's not strictly changing it from the books. It sort of is, because I want more emphasis on that than there was in the books. It was occasional in the books. I'd love to see more of it. Obviously, that's the weakest point, but by this point I was struggling in trying to come up with 10. Right, what's the next one? Number 8. Evidence of Yeerks around the globe, rather than just in California. Now, this comes sort of into my last top 10 episode, where I said I want there to be obvious scope. And this plays into it. In the book series, in the main book series, it was basically restricted to California. Obviously, they went to, was it Antarctica? I think they went to Antarctica in 25. Oh, where else have they been? They've been a lot of places. Cassie went to Australia. But for a lot of the time, it almost felt like all this was going on in California. Now, this will be difficult unless we go back to my earlier thing and we have a subplot here and there. Maybe we're catching up with a subvisor in Lithuania on occasion. Just as a way to show that this is a global phenomenon, because we didn't really get it that much. And it would be nice to see subplot characters in different parts of the world, just giving us an idea of how far the Yeerks have come in a short space of time. How many people they've taken, how many places they've taken. And it just gives that scope. So that's point number 8. Number 9, and possibly the most important, more competent Yeerks. Let's be honest, the Yeerks were entirely incompetent. And that plays to the series' detriment, in my opinion. And the detriment of the reputation of the Andalites. Because, let's face it, the Yeerks were useless. And the Andalites struggled. Maybe shouldn't be so arrogant and smug as they tend to be. We need to change that. We need to make the Yeerks look more competent. Another reason why Visser 3 needs to go bye-bye a bit more. The problem with the books being so episodic is that they had to do a mission for every book. They also had to get through every mission, which made the Yeerks seem more and more incompetent as the series went on. If the series becomes more serialised and there are less major missions and more time planning, organising, carrying out subplots, it makes the Yeerks look less incompetent. Which I think, all of these are tying together, so happy. That means I feel consistent in myself. So I'd like to see more competent Yerks. However we do that, whether it be making the episodes more serialised than episodic, however we get there, I'm happy. And number 10, I ran out of ideas, so I just put me. I think I should be in all of the merchandise, all of the posters, you know, whopping great close-up of me, and all the other characters sort of blurry, nondescript in the background. God, I love Rick Mail. Rest in peace, Rick Mail. But in all seriousness, I run the Animorphs Discord, and you should join it. There'll be a link in the description. We have 300 plus members and counting. I can't bloody speak at the moment. Really active Discord. We've had Michael Grant on it a few times. He's been a wonderful guest in a variety of ways, and we hope to get him on again in the near future for a talk or two, especially with regards to this movie. Might not be for a while yet, but nevertheless, come to the Discord and have yourself a blast. If you're not as interested in that, but you're more interested in fan fiction, I do fan fiction, and there'll also be a link to that in the description. So what are your ideas? What would you change from the books for any upcoming Animorphs media? Tell me in the comments, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.